Hey guys, welcome to another Flux Motion After Effects tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you something pretty cool. I'm going to be showing you how to create some auto scaling or auto conforming box titles. So let me just show you what I mean here. So it looks pretty basic, but what is so cool about this particular tutorial and this animation here is that these boxes actually conform to whatever is being typed. So just to show you very quickly an example, I will take auto-conforming this text here, and I'm just going to type a bunch of other stuff, and you can see that the box is following it, which makes animating really easy and quick. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on here, some expressions, but overall it's pretty simple. So let's get started with it. So let's start a new composition, and I'm just going to name this master comp as I always do. And we'll just do 1920 by 1080, 24 frames a second, and 10 seconds in duration. Hit OK, and let's just get ourselves a background. Next thing we're going to do, I'm just going to go up to our text tool and type test text. Okay, and first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that my text is left aligned. This will come in handy, and this will be very important later in some later steps. So just make sure that it's left aligned, and then I'm going to take my anchor point reposition tool and just reposition that to the center, and I'm going to align this to the center of the frame. I don't need my proportional grids, so I'm going to turn those off, get those out of the way. Font size doesn't really matter, you can make it whatever works for you. Next step will be to come up here to our shape tool and make sure that our rectangle is selected, and then let's just double click the rectangle. Okay, and so right now the fill is just a black fill, and I'm going to actually leave it at that. It's kind of like a blackish, yeah, it's like a dark gray black. And I'm going to set my stroke to 40. Mine has already been preset to 40, but I would set yours to 40 or 50 or 60. You'll see what this will do later. Next, let's just name this box layer. Next thing we are going to do is we are going to come down into our contents here, go to our rectangle drop down, rectangle path, and we're going to be working with the size and position. Okay, so just to explain a little bit of what's going on here very briefly, we need to make sure that this size is following the same size as the text box. So there is an expression for this that I found online and through watching some other tutorials that will allow us to do this. In fact, I'm going to do my position before I do the size. Sorry guys. So the position also has an expression on it. I've just got some expressions here in my text editor. And I've got these in the description that you can copy and paste. So you're just going to copy this one for position, and we're going to hit Alt on the stopwatch and paste that expression in there. So you're going to see that happen. And let's collapse this, get that out of the way. So now that we've added that expression to the position, what it's really doing, I don't really know. I just know that it is basically going to follow the position of the text layer when we're all said and done. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to get our expression on our size property here. So I'll go back to my text editor, and I've also got this in the description. We'll copy our size expression. So we'll hit Alt on our stopwatch there, and boom, okay. So what's happening here is it's telling our box that the height and the width of this box needs to be the same height and width of the text box. Okay, so I have set this to test text already before I even started this tutorial. But you will have to change this to whatever you've decided to type in. So if you typed in After Effects is cool, then you'll have to type that in to this, and it is case sensitive as far as I know. So make sure you type it is exactly as it is. Okay, now that I got that, you'll see that it is not quite lined up here. Okay, so we're going to take this box and just drag it over. And in fact, I'm going to turn the stroke off for this. So just come up to stroke and hit 0. This will be easier for lining things up. So I'm just going to drag this right here over my text and make sure that it is lined up. It's covering it completely. Perfect. I'm going to bring this back up to 40. And I'm going to collapse this. Make sure that your box layer is behind the text. Now you can see my text right there, and I'm going to change the color to white so that we can see it. Cool. Okay. Now if I come in here and decide to start typing some more stuff, you'll see that the text box, or the box, follows the text. So I can hit enter and start typing more stuff, right? Okay, so let's just go back to our test text here. And again, make sure beforehand that this is set to left align, because if it's not, then you'll be typing and your text will be going this way and your box will be going this way, and it will not work. So right now everything looks pretty good. I'm going to create a new null layer, and I'm just going to name this controller. Take your text and your box and just parent them to the null. This will make things easier to move around if you have this controller here. So the next thing we're going to do is I want to just create like a little bit of a drop shadow, three-dimensional look, kind of like you're seeing here. You see this like blue outline. I want to create that. So the only thing I have to do is I just duplicate the box layer. I'm just going to leave that color as is, and I'm just going to change the transparency and drop this to like 50%. Make sure that this is underneath box layer 1, the original. And if I move this underneath, I've got like a cool little drop shadow effect right behind it. And automatically when you duplicate this layer, the text is still going to follow. So if I come in here and edit the text again, the drop shadow or back layer is still going to follow. So that's cool. And let's make sure that's linked, and it is. Okay. So as you can see, that is super simple to do. Okay, so next thing that we're going to want to do is show you how this types on. So let's open up our text drop down here, and we'll come over to this animate thingy here and hit our little arrow, and we're going to hit scale. Okay, so now we have a range selector, and we've got a couple different options here. This scale right here needs to be set to 0. Set that to 0, no more text. Now the start is set to 0%, but if you drag this to 100, you can see that it's typing on. So let's just create a keyframe. We'll start at 0, set a keyframe. Let's go forward, I don't know, 15 frames, and scale that to 100%. Okay, so now it's typing on. It's probably a little bit too fast, so let me just move that. Okay. Now you can leave it if you want, so that the letters are actually scaling up. Personally, I don't like that. So if you come to this advanced drop-down menu, then you can set, where is it? Smoothness. You can set your smoothness to 0%, and it won't do that anymore. Perfect. Okay. So you're basically done at this point. The reason that I created this null is so that I could easily move all of these layers around, but also so that I could do some cool scaling. As you can see here, they start small, they scale out, and then they scale back down. To quickly do that, I'll just show you here. Let's start this at 80% scale. I hit S, by the way, to bring up the scale property. We'll hit our keyframe, and let's scale it to 100, and go forward another 6 frames or so. Put another keyframe, and then to the end of our animation, we'll scale it down to 80 again. Okay, kind of janky. Let's ease this. So hit F9. Still a little janky, and we can come into our graph editor and make sure scale is selected here, and you'll want to make sure that you're on your speed graph. I think by default it's set to value graph, but I've always got mine on speed graph, so you'll want to edit that. Come in here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so I can see what's going on here a little bit more. So this is the ease right here. I'm sure many of you have seen the graph editor, so I'm not going to get too far into it, but these Bezier handles could be pulled to change the influence, and I'm going to do 70% on all of these. So 70% in, 70% out on that one, and then we'll come over here and do the same thing. 70% in, about, and 70% out. Okay, so now it looks like that. Cool. You can adjust that if you want later and do whatever you want with that. So one last thing that I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how I got this slanted box right here. Now there might be other ways of doing this, but the only way that I was able to find out how is to add a wave warp to the box. So if you come over to your effects and presets, just type in wave warp. There it is. Put that on there. You're going to want to change this to, I believe it's triangle. Yep, triangle. And you're going to set your direction to 0 so that that is on the side. Now your wave height, sorry, that's not the right one. Wave width needs to be adjusted so that it is huge. Let's go to like 100. See what that looks like. 100, and then you can see there's like a little notch right there. We want to get rid of that, so let's go to our phasing. So if you mess with the phasing, you can get it just right, and it's basically straight edge going kind of diagonal, which is super cool. Now I can copy this and paste it to our behind layer, and you're gonna have to go to the behind layer and adjust the phasing back there as well. But now you've got a slanted look here. Oh, and I did not turn off. Make sure that your wave speed is set to 0, or else it will be going all over the place on you. So let me make sure that I adjust this accordingly. Okay, that is almost there. It's getting a little sketchy, so I'm actually going to bring up this wave width a little more. Okay, I'm not going to mess with this too much and make it perfect, but you can kind of get the idea here. If you want to create a slanted box, just use wave warp. Really, the only way to get anything other than a rectangle, as far as I know, is to just do something weird and warp it. Okay, so it's a slanted box, and it still types on. And we still have something weird going on here. That's kind of cool, I guess. Oh, that's why. I forgot to set it on there. Okay, so anyway, you have your slanted box now. The great thing about this is if you're doing some sort of motion graphics titles, I'm actually doing this for a project, a personal project right now, and it's been super nice as I've made changes to the titles to not have to worry about changing the size of the boxes. Obviously, to hand animate something like this, you would have to go frame by frame, and it would take forever, which is why we have those expressions. The expressions make everything easier. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please leave me feedback in the comment section below. This is one of my first tutorials, so I am just looking for ways to improve and looking for tutorials that people actually want to watch and things that people can apply to their own projects. So let me know how I did in the comment section below. Check out my Instagram. The link will be in the description below or on screen somewhere. Thank you so much again for watching, and we'll see you next time.